Hello and welcome to this edition of the Chlo, which I believe is episode number 8. So in this episode, what we're going to talk about is 5 months on hormones, and what I'm going to do is talk for a little bit about what's happened so far, and what the effects have been, etc. So obviously, as I've explained in previous videos and as I was explaining to you again, I'm not a medical expert. So what I'm going to talk about is my experiences of it. So obviously I will give a bit of an idea in terms of what medication I'm on, and the sort of dosages and stuff like that. But that's just based on my personal thing. So obviously for yourself, you may very well have different medication that you're on. Obviously it may differ from whatever country you're on. So I'm going to talk about it in terms of the UK. And also in terms of obviously I get my medication privately, which I'll talk about. But as I said, I'm not a medical professional, so obviously you need to go by whatever your medical professionals are saying. So if they're saying different medication or different dosages or whatever, then go with what they say. As I say, I'll also talk about some of these effects that it's had so far. Now, as I say, I'm only 5 months in, so some of these things you may not have experienced, you may not experience. There may be stuff that you've experienced that I haven't experienced. As I say, it's just about my personal journey. So just as a bit of a quick reminder, in terms of what the stuff that I am actually on, so I've got this one here which is called Estrogel. So this is a gel, so you do 3 squirts of that once a day, and then obviously rub that in. I'm also on this thing here as well, which is called finasteride. So that's 5 micrograms of finasteride, which is a testosterone blocker. So those are the 2 that I am actually on at the minute. Now, one of the things I will be going on to is this one, which is progesterone. Now, this one is actually called estrogel, possibly. You decide how it's spelled or how it's said. So we'll be going on to that, and the benefits of that is that it may actually increase breast growth. There are other things as well, but so that's one of the things that I will be going on to when I start my next round of medication. So probably about a couple of weeks' time, I'll start taking that as well. So by the next time, by the time of the next video, I may be able to say a little bit about how that's affecting me. I say I may not, because obviously, as I say, it'll probably only be about a couple of weeks into it at that point. So I may not know at that stage. So obviously in terms of those, I get my medication privately. So as I think I've mentioned before, through something called Gender GP. So I say get that done privately, because here in the UK, I am on the NHS waiting list, but the NHS waiting list is at least 5 years long. So I've been on it a year, but I've probably still got to wait another 5 at this stage. So it's a long time to wait. And fortunately, I'm in a position where I could afford to do it privately. I mean, it's still expensive, but it's one of those things. So in terms of what I have, as I said, I have the 3. I have the 3 items. As I say, I pay for that as a private prescription. So in terms of the sort of overall costs of what I've got, I pay a full weekly fee to Gender GP, sort of subscription service. So that's £30 a month. There is some startup costs, etc. as well. Now what I probably will do is do a video of how that journey sort of works. So I'm planning to do a video on that, so I won't go into too much detail on this one, but you pay like a monthly subscription. Because I don't get my meds through my GP, so an independent prescriber has to go and prescribe them. So each time I put in a prescription, which is about every 12 weeks, that's £15. And then I say I have to pay for the prescription as well. So basically, in terms of what I get, in terms of the sort of 12 weeks, I get 5 of those, 3 of those, 3 packets of those, and 3 packets of that one as well. And all in all, that's about £140, something along that sort of line. So it is quite expensive. It probably works out at about, once you put in the subscription fee and everything else, probably about £80 a month on prescriptions. But unfortunately, it's a necessary evil. So in terms of the actual effects so far, so as I said, I'm on about month 5 now. A lot of the things that you read online in terms of the when stuff begins to occur, usually it mentions about the sort of 3 months mark that things will start to happen. Now that won't necessarily be the same for everyone, because it's all about genetics, and some people may experience some of these things earlier or later. Some of these effects might not be very profound in you. As I say, it's it's due to genetics and all that. And also, the other thing I'd probably say to remember is that this is like a second puberty. So because it's second puberty, I mean, if you think how long the first puberty took, it can take a while. So it's one of those things, unfortunately. So I always sort of break this down into the sort of mental changes and then the sort of physical changes after. So in terms of the mental changes, so since starting the HRT sort of 5 months ago, I'm a lot calmer now. I don't tend to get as aggressive as what I used to. So I don't tend to get as stressed out as what I used to. I mean, there's still times, but not quite the same level. I find I get a bit more emotional about stuff, so I will tend to get teary about stuff. So if I read stuff that's sad, then that will make me quite sad. I mean, sometimes it'd be silly things like, I'll give you an example to do with Blackadder Goes Forth. So if anyone's watched Blackadder Goes Forth, and you've got that last sort of bit of that series where they're actually going over that makes me quite sad when I see that. So things like that makes me teary. So there is that. I suppose there is a certain amount of kind of loss of libido to a certain extent. So I think previously, when I had more testosterone, that was more of a priority, I suppose, whereas now it really isn't so much of a priority anymore. It doesn't, I just don't think about it. So there's that as well. So that's the sort of mental things anyway. In terms of the physical things, as I say, we're only 5 months in. A lot of changes only sort of begin around the 3 months mark anyway, but I have seen changes. So there's definitely changes in my facial structure. So my face is rounder. It's certainly noticeable around things like my eyes. They do look different to what they've done previously. So I think actually it does, my face is a lot more feminine than what it was 5 months ago. So that's certainly changed, and it's sort of in part of that as well, but the texture is different, the skin texture is different. So I've noticed that my skin is a lot softer than it used to be. So that's certainly a change as well. In terms of hair reduction, haven't noticed. I mean, I've noticed a bit of terms of some hair reduction, although it's difficult to say, because what I'd say about hair reduction, because I actually have laser hair removal and have an IPL machine, so to use at home. So the actual hair reduction is difficult to say in terms of saying it's definitely reducing. I think it is. It doesn't seem to go back as quickly, but then also there's other methods in play as well. So in terms of other things, fat redistribution. So I've noticed a bit of that. So if you're in the UK, you might know a phrase, does my bum look big in this? Well, my bum is actually beginning to get bigger. So and it's not actually just from eating pies, because I don't often eat pies, but actually, there is a difference. I say it's a subtle one at this stage, but it is, it is going in the right direction. Now, the other thing I probably would talk about as well in terms of anything physical is about some breast growth as well. So I think I mentioned probably on the last one that I have noticed a difference in terms of the. I think last time I talked about it as being like a lump kind of thing behind the nipple, and it is something that's commonly talked about on various different forums and YouTube channels and stuff as a starting point. Now, as I say, my boobs are beginning to grow. Now, as I say, they're still not particularly big, because obviously at the moment I still have inserts in place, because it just makes me, it looks more proportionate to my body size to have that, to try and sort of pass a bit better. But at the same time, if I had a top on without the insert, without a bar, and you can tell that there is something there. So there is boobs there, but they're actually quite small at this stage, which you would expect. If you're going to have any growth at all, it's going to be small after that amount of time. As I said earlier, obviously when I look at that one in particular, that supposedly potentially may help breast growth as well. So, hopefully, I think probably most of us would like a reasonable sized chest at the end of it. So, certainly no exception to that. But we will see what happens with it. Hopefully, all will be good. So, as I say, really, that's the sort of hormone side of things at the minute. I will go and make a video just talking about what the prescription is and how I got to be in a position where I can get the prescription. So I will do a video about that. I know I've promised in the past I'll do some of these videos, but I will actually get around to doing them. Other things that have sort of been going on, so the laser treatment is continuing. So obviously at the moment, I think I would have mentioned this previously, but I have been undergoing laser treatment on my face. So I've been doing that since about October, so I think I'm on my about 8th session of that. I've probably got about another 3 or 4 to do. I will do a video that explains a bit more detail about laser and how I found it. But basically, I have laser on my face, so all on my face and my neck as well. So now for me, that costs me about £150 a session. I would say if anyone's thinking of doing it, it can be worthwhile. Definitely, I've noticed a substantial reduction in hair on the face. I'd say it was not an easy option, and not easy on the pocket, but also because it is painful. And I would say actually when you go and get it done, when you have that first session, that really hurt, and probably the second session won't be much fun. I mean, future sessions aren't much fun because it is still painful, but it's not as painful as what it was sort of in the first session. I would say, though, word of warning, that this bit, your upper lip, will hurt. I don't know how many, I've said I've had it 8 or whatever now, but yeah, that bit really is sensitive. So when they put that laser thing near your nose, just beware, it's going to hurt. But I would say as well, it's been a positive experience. We have a good chat with the lady who does it. It's not a problem being trans to have it done or anything like that. They're brilliant. So that's been going. The other thing that's been ongoing as well, which I probably will also do a video on, is IPL. So that's like handheld laser version. So it doesn't really compare to the one that you get when you get the laser treatment. That's a much more targeted approach, and obviously it's a much more high powered version. than the one used for at home. So I have an IPL machine which is from Catch Beauty, so you've probably seen a lot of sort of trans influencers talk about that. I will do a video about it at some point, just in case you haven't seen that, just to give you a bit of an idea in terms of how that works. But I've been doing that, and that seems to be making good progress on that as well. That seems to be reducing it, which is all really helpful, because obviously when I go and get a laser in some of these areas, if it can go and reduce it ahead of time, then hopefully I might not need as many laser sessions at that, and hopefully they won't hurt as much, because if you've got reduced hair, then there's not as much for them to target. So that's ongoing. As I say, I probably will go to get electrolysis at a later point. So once I get to the end of my laser on my face, I will look to get electrolysis, which is a different process. So I will look to do that once I've got to the end of that course of laser, but that's future me problem. As I say, that's mostly what's been going on. I did get an email today from the gender clinic with details of some like well-being sessions that they're looking to put on. So those will be like via Microsoft Teams, and I think they're having like one a month. So I've said I'd be interested in that, because I always like to get involved in these things. It's difficult because obviously when you go and you do your referral through your GP, which I think I did mine back in end of June, something like that, and then you don't really hear from the gender identity clinic until they're ready to give you an appointment. So you just don't hear from them, and that's difficult, because it's like you feel a little bit on your own. So if they ever come up with stuff like this, I do like to get involved in it, because it's just keeping in contact with them, and I think it will help later on when I get to the point of going for my appointments with them, that I will have been through these other things, and I would have looked at whatever support I can go and get. So hopefully in the longer term that will be good. So that's pretty much where things are, to be honest. One of the things that as I say, I will look to do some more of these videos. One of the things I really need to go and work on is my voice. So obviously I went to that session a while back, so I need to actually start putting some of those into practice. And hopefully, maybe I'll try it with these other videos when I go and make these videos about laser and all that. Maybe I will actually try and actually put some of this stuff into practice, because I do need to practice. I'm well aware of that. But that's pretty much it for now. Obviously, if you've enjoyed the video, please do go and subscribe, and also click the notifications so that you do get notifications, because as I say, I am going to go and do some more videos other than just these monthly updates. So I will talk about some other aspects of things that I've done. And if there are things that you think actually that would be a good thing to cover, then obviously we can look to go and do those as well. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, and hope you all have a great day. Bye.